Hello, and thank you for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Today on the program, Nigeria records highest daily COVID-19 cases in 6 months amidst Delta variant concern as House of Representatives fails to broker peace with striking resident doctors after 2 days of meetings. And later on the show, Nigerians groan under new price of cooking gas, seek government urgent intervention. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Sam Ibemere. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Begin the show today on a rather sad note. Nigeria lost one of its lawyers and human rights advocates, Mohammed Fawehinmi, on Wednesday. Mohammed, the son of the late human rights advocate, that's Chief Gani Fawehinmi, died at the age of 52. Babajide, this is a big loss to the Fawehinmi's family. This is a big loss. I remember before the chief died, that's Chief Gani Fawehinmi himself, as at that time we were looking for that Mohammed was the one that's going to take over Chief Gani Fawehinmi's before that terrible accident. And after that time, Chief Gani Fawehinmi actually said that that chamber should be locked, and because of the state's Mohammed, was at that point in time. And so this is shocking at the age of 52.
It's truly shocking. It was Fawehinmi's eldest son, and he was the fellow who told the line of his father. Though he did not actually start his academic career as
the lawyer.
Yes. But ultimately he went to read law, and that made his father happy, because every big lawyer, every judge wants to have one of his children read law, because they have so many books, and the question is, who then inherits those books if you do not have a child who will take after you. So the late Gani Fawehinmi was happy that at least he had a son who would take after him. But fortunately, that accident happened and confined him to the wheelchair. Gani was full of regrets over the accident, and he said that if our health system was better, that Mohammed's case would not have degenerated to that level. There was an interview that we had with him where he complained about the state of our health services. Remember, even the late Gani himself, before he was eventually diagnosed suffering from cancer, here in one of the best hospitals in our country. When he went to the hospital to complain, they actually diagnosed him as suffering from pneumonia. And because of that, the remission of the cancer continued until his daughter took him to the US. And it was at the US that they discovered that all along your dad had been suffering from, yes, so this is a case of misdiagnosis, which means Gani will probably
live longer.
Yes, if they had diagnosed him properly. Yes, so the thing continued to spread. Now we have it's terrible, and I can feel the pain of the family. At this stage, they don't even want to see anyone, because this pain is difficult to bear. Who takes the question is who now, because after all of this, Mohammed had been in charge of the chambers as well as the library, the law publication, the company. But who now will take over, given what has happened?
It's so sad, so sad. 52.
Yeah, a very sad development. Mohammed Fawehinmi has gone the way of every mortal. God gives, God takes. But he'll be, sorely lost. He'll be remembered as one of the country's voices of reason. You know, he remained an activist even till his very last moments. And like some have said, he did justice to the memory of his father. I would like to commiserate with the family and to the rest of our Nigerians.
I have joining us is Richard Akinola, a journalist and a close friend to the Fawehinmis. Thank you for joining us, Richie.
Thank you.
How will you describe the death of Mohammed Fawehinmi?
Well, it's a personal loss to me. I mean, I felt devastated yesterday because, I mean, of my close relationship with the family and with Mohammed himself. And because we had a way of gisting and, I mean, exchanging banters. And, I mean, it was, initially I was in denial because I felt that no, this is not possible. So eventually, I mean, I had to accept the reality. If I just now that I'm beginning to get myself back, because the whole of last night, I mean, evening stroke, the last night I was somebody else. So, but after ruminating over the whole thing this morning, I felt perhaps that would have been the best thing for him because since September 23, 2003, when he had that accident at Maryland, I mean, life had not been the same again. And when he was first taken to Igbobi that day, there was no MRI in Igbobi, there was no CT scan. Nowhere in Lagos we would get CT scan or MRI. So, and unfortunately, because when somebody has a spinal cord injury, once, I mean, somebody has touched him, I mean, some things would have moved.
Yes.
So, and when he got to Igbobi and they felt that, well, look, it's unfortunate. So the second day, so his father had to fly him to London immediately, where he spent 7 months in the different hospitals, and came back, continued his the treatment, but since that time he had been confined to the wheelchair. And even despite that, I believe that most willpower, I mean, got him up to this point because he always felt that one day he would still stand on his feet. And that, I'm sure that willpower got him to this point. Because otherwise, I mean, for somebody who could not use his hands and who could not use his legs, and they have to be dependent on somebody else for 24 hours. I mean, that was no joke. That's why I felt that perhaps maybe that's the best thing for him, because maybe the best thing for him to go, because having been in that kind of situation for that's almost 18 years. I mean, that was quite devastating. And of course, for Gani to be seeing his first child, who was born when Gani was in detention, in that kind of state, it's a real torture for any parent. So, but of course, we know Gani to have his own very strong will and believe in God and well. I mean, healing will come one way or the other. But Mo did not allow that to distract him. Even after Chief died, he took charge of the Nigerian Law Publications, in which he was the chairman of yesterday, of the Nigerian Law Publications, and of course the whole entire Gani Fawehinmi family and the first child. So, and of course, I mean, he was always involved in all the activities in the civil society. I mean, even in his wheelchair, even if it meant he will come late, he will make sure that he made an appearance, and that was something very unique about him. And of course, I mean, a couple of protests we did, even like Jonathan himself and Mama were part of it. In fact, he was tear gas one of these protests at the Kodu Road. So, but despite that, I mean, he still appeared in court, I mean, on some occasions, and he still managed to write at least about 2 books one on bail, and another one on precedence or so. So, I mean, it's a very devastating thing to me, quite frankly.
I want to thank you, Richard Akinola. Thank you for that insight into the life of Mr. Mohammed Fawehinmi, late Mohammed Fawehinmi. Thank you for your contribution. Babajide, you had to go rest.
Yes, and
you had to rest.
Richard has put it succinctly. As painful as it must have been to Richard, he put himself in his place. And look, if you have to be dependent on people
24 hours.
24 hours. There are times when you tell yourself that, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? Because you feel that you are subjecting other people to too much pain on your own account. So it's terrible. We wish that accident never happened in the first place, because Gani Fawehinmi deserved not just the best, but the best successful that came from his own loins. This is a huge blow, and I'm really, really concerned about where the Fawehinmis go from here. I'm really concerned about that, because he came up with ideas that lawyers that were even more successful than him never came up with at that time. The matter of the weekly law reports. That was his own immortal contribution to jurisprudence in our country. Successful lawyers who became sons before him, who are far richer than him, they never thought that they needed to give back to that profession in form of the weekly law reports. And even some of his enemies will go to court and be citing the weekly law reports published by Gani Fawehinmi. Sometimes he taunted them about it, you know. So now, I just hope that those companies will be in good hands, and that the name, the flame of Gani Fawehinmi will not burn out.
We will just pray that the Fawehinmis, God will grant them the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss. Moving on now, the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic is upon us, but our frontline defense against the virus are on strike. According to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, the country recorded a sharp increase in COVID-19 infections from 610 on Tuesday to 790 on Wednesday, the highest recorded cases in 6 months. Meanwhile, members of the House of Representatives have failed to broker peace with striking resident doctors after two meetings. Let's share the story of the lawmakers from Abuja with you and the situation in Oyo State.
Directly, sir.
No, let him. It's the second day of the intervention efforts by the lawmakers in the face-off between resident doctors and the government. One after the other, the committee brings the issues in contention before the parties. These include funding of residency training, a circular mandating the removal of house officers from the scheme of service, and payment of about 5.5 billion naira in salary arrears, including arrears of consequential adjustment of minimum wage.
See how we can fast-track measures to ensure that average persons that are not party to that omission or commission are not punished. Because if we continue like this, those who are supposed to be paid are punished. Those who are supposed to benefit from the services and are not benefiting are also punished.
For once, the CMDs and the striking doctors agree there was no basis for the controversial circular compelling the removal of house officers from the scheme of service.
The house officers and the NYC doctors, especially when he gave me gave us the composition of the Council on Establishment, people from the state came. Let me tell you the truth. Most of the general hospital owned by the state, they are manned by the NYC doctors.
Appealing to, please, Director of Budget, Honorable Mr. Ralph, Head of Service, please try to make sure that you have made proper arrangement in every year budget to make sure that these doctors, they have enough fund for their salary and their allowances.
The doctors also vowed to continue with the strike if their members employed in the wake of emergency brought about by the outbreak of COVID-19 are not paid.
The essence of us being here is to try and bring back services to Nigerians as a whole. Sir, what will be my take home from this honorable place?
After 7 hours of so much back and forth between representatives of the resident doctors and government officials, the striking doctors did not seem convinced that much has been achieved at this meeting. Are you satisfied with the outcome of this meeting?
I'm not, obviously. I'm told to come to the Minister of Health. We as responsible individuals and a responsible union will keep on towing the line of dialogue, hoping that one day they will get it right.
The lawmakers have set up a committee comprising the Health Ministry, Chief Medical Directors, unions in the sector, and regulatory bodies to address issues of emergency requirements of health workers. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
Despite threats by the federal government through the Minister of Labour and Productivity to enforce the no work, no pay rule, the doctors are undeterred. There are about 16,000 resident doctors working in Nigeria. According to reports, they constitute about 90% of the medical doctors in government-owned hospitals across the country. The industrial action is causing more pain to so many families, but there seems not to be solution in sight.
The strike about the doctor, like we are here for how many days now, we are waiting for the surgery, but because of the strike they are not attending to us, and government is supposed to do something about it because we are not happy. The thing that government is supposed to produce in the hospital, we are here, we don't have anything, but we are providing even glove, everything. They'll ask you get this one, we are not happy. So we plead government to do something about it.
Ordinarily, the doctors are not responding. They are not, answering to the patients and the ward. Even they have been discharged because they are not enough. They are just scanty. This is what is the pediatric ward. That's why the child there is being attended to. But in all other wards, sincerely, doctors are really on strike.
Reacting to this, the NAT chairman said it is high time the government looked into the matter instead of enforcing a no work, no pay rule.
Also, the issue of hazard allowances, as we speak now, is still 5,000, close to about 10 years now. Also, as we speak, we made mention of STHIs, that is state tertiary hospitals. Abia State 19 months, Imo State 7 months, Ekiti State 6 months, Ondo State 4 months. These are very serious issues. So debating no work, no pay is very trivial, it's inconsequential, it's not even anything that we should be talking about.
He berated the Rivers State chapter for suspending the industrial action.
That is not acceptable. It's a national body, and this strike was taken by all the teaching hospitals at our NEC meeting in Umaya. As we go on, NAD will issue an official statement to that effect.
Recent strike is no doubt telling on the delivery of healthcare services to the people. That is why they are calling on the government to see to the situation so that the delivery of healthcare services can come back to normal. Olaide Oyewole, TVC News, Ibadan.
You know, sometimes when we have situations like this, the attention will be on the federal government.
Yes.
Now we've seen from this report that it's not only the federal government involved in this. How will Governor Ikpeazu be owing 19 months of hazard allowance?
Yes. I was even waiting to see Benue, because anytime they are talking about salaries not paid, it is autumn that they always talk about. And the people who talk about it, they don't live there. They don't know how many months is owing. Now, I was expecting that they would list Benue among those states. But I didn't see Benue.
How many doctors do you have in Abia? That
So now Imo State, 7 months. Ondo, 4 months.
Ekiti, 6
Abia,
months.
Abia, 19.
How
do you owe somebody who puts his own life on the line
that they are celebrated internationally
to save the lives of other people? Especially in this COVID season, they've lost 19 of their own members to COVID. You now feel comfortable to owe doctors. We are not talking about other categories of workers. No. You are owing doctors 19 months, and you can strut around as if nothing is happening. No wonder the president said this some time ago, that sometimes he wonders how governors sleep. How they are able to sleep when they know they are owing people several months salary. What is unheard of at doctors? I mean,
how many are they?
It's unheard of to owe doctors. It's even bad enough. Then to owe as much as 19 months. I don't know how. That's why ASU, as one of his demands, ASU demanded that the proliferation of state universities should be addressed. These governors who are opening up state universities here and there, and they do not have the capacity to fund those universities properly. Now, those state universities have, some of them have what's it called? They have teaching hospitals.
Substandard.
They have teaching hospitals. Now, those teaching hospitals,
only funded.
It's the doctors in those teaching hospitals that they refuse to pay. What these resident doctors have done is to try to see how they can use the union to address the plight of some of their colleagues, because whether we like it or not, they are doctors like them, they are members of their union. So that's why they are trying to use the umbrella body to try to help solve this problem. And I think that the governors who are owing doctors this several months' salary, they need to be spoken to. That this is not how to behave. It's not how to behave. Many oddities happen in our country. I don't understand.
Doctors.
19 months. Abi, is it fiction that emanated from that man's mouth?
That is the chairman of the state chapter.
Is he exaggerating things?
We can play it again.
Does he know what is 19 months? To hold a doctor 19 months?
The report we have just listened to, paints a very deep crisis in our healthcare, system. It's a shame, and until there is a counterclaim, listening to, one of the doctors about the number of months owned their colleagues in the states like Abia, it would be safe to assume that that claim is indeed correct. It's a disaster, and to imagine that this is one country where doctor-to-patient ratio is horrible. 1 to 5,000 doctors. That's what the record says. And
1 to
5,000. So you can begin to picture the mess that we are in. Healthcare delivery is a mess. And then I listened to the Minister of Labor, in trying to address the issues that have been raised, sounding very combative, trying to educate Nigerians on why we should not take doctors very seriously in this kind of mess, and reminding us that he has 2 children who are medical doctors and that he has warned them not to be part of, I'm quoting him, nonsense strike. And the man is still keeping his job.
It's only in Nigeria that can keep it.
Nigerian doctors are living in troves. And then we don't seem to take it as serious. And then, you see, the irony of it is that
if he was still practicing, ideally they should have withdrawn his certificate.
Honestly,
it's
bar him from practicing
for
such unconscionable statement.
So what's the advantage of you being a doctor and you are the minister?
He retired as a doctor a long time ago. So if we say now you are going to stop him from practicing, if they descend on him, it's a waste of time. He has retired to a life of politicking. You get the point that I'm making?
Yes.
Ideally, look, it's just like Malamina. Malami is Attorney General of the Federation. And it's not beyond punishment. Because one day he will leave that place and he will return to legal practice.
If you remember, Andwaka was punished.
Yes, they did that. Andwaka was punished. Andwaka was punished. They are capable of punishing their own people. So I'm saying that if he was still practicing, because he last practiced a very long time ago, you know, so perhaps they could consider disciplining him for some of the remarks that he's made about doctors. The other day he claimed that we have more than enough doctors. I'm telling you. And he has lost touch completely with that
the Minister of State, the Minister of Health, Minister of State for Health, people like Senator Olonre Mamora cannot speak the way he has been speaking down at his colleagues.
Mamora was the one who attended this meeting.
I'm telling you, he cannot.
Because the substantive minister has drawn a battle line, and there is this huge integrity gap. So why would doctors even believe him? Believe a man who has who is not just appearing hostile, Jide, is indeed very hostile. And referring to the industrial action as nonsensical.
Now, I was discussing with someone yesterday. We were discussing what lawmakers used to earn in this same country.
Yeah.
Lawmakers used to earn as little as 70,000, 80,000 per month. I remember even the former Senate president, one of the Senate presidents, I'm trying to remember his name, Adolphus Wabara, saying that some of them sold their houses to get to the National Assembly, but that there's really no money there. Back then, all that changed. During the Obasanjo years, they were not earning much, but all that has changed. We are in a country where we do not see anything wrong in spending so much money to keep our bureaucracy in place, to feed bureaucracy, to pay deadwoods. But people who matter, we don't think that we should pay them good salary. So if we were to go back to what they were earning around 2005, 2006, the doctors have remained on the same 5,000 since 1991.
All right, so let's quickly take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. It's a news and current affairs program. Journalist Hangout will reach you from TVC News here in Lagos, Nigeria. I see Babajide Kolade Otitoju in the house and Sam Ibimire. Sam, when you look at this trend and the way the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic is raging, we need all hands to be on deck. There is a statistic that Lagos State government gave yesterday. I think that Yaba isolation center. I think it's filled to 95% now.
Okay, Ayo, we have this wave, and you have a minister speaking the way he did. It simply shows that he's lacking in emotional intelligence. And as the Minister of Labour, you wonder his understanding or knowledge of crisis management or industrial relations, a man who is supposed to be in charge of labour. But having said that, we can only live in denial. The global stats says over 4 million have died globally from COVID.
Over 4 million?
Yes. The last report I read, on the average, over 500,000 infections have been reported daily. In Nigeria, over 2,000 dead. Active cases, over 7,000. So if anyone is in doubt, then the person must just be not living in this part of the world, or not a part of this, global system that we live in. The figures are just too bad. It's real, and we just have to take responsibility. Lagos, sadly, is the center. entire health challenge that we face. But to be fair to the governor, of all his contemporaries, he seems to have, been a bit more proactive, a bit more responsive in containing the crisis that we have. But the statistics don't look good at all. The numbers are rising. We understand by the figures that were shared by the NCDC, we had the highest, numbers. The highest numbers were reported yesterday in the last 6 months. So anyone who is living in denial will have him or herself to blame. We need to take responsibility.
Yesterday, it has been established that in that orientation camp, NYC orientation camp, the rate at which the COVID people are testing, coppers are testing positive, because when they were mobilizing, they said part of the criterion of coming in is that they are going to test them, maybe positive or negative, and from what we've gathered, and even according to the Minister of Information, the rate at which COVID-19 is spreading across the orientation camp is quite worrisome.
Well, that's not the information that I have. You can't get into that NYC orientation camp without a test.
The camp is ongoing now. This one, second week.
You can't get into. I dare anyone to attempt to enter. We are here in Lagos.
Okay.
You won't get inside without a test. I can say that.
Okay.
You can't get in. You do a test because they don't want you to go and infect people.
Others.
And once it is established that you have it, they put you aside. The notion that people inside the camp, they are... No, it is wrong. The House of Reps committee has even validated that it is not true that core members, that NYC camps, that people are suffering from COVID in NYC camp. The House of Reps committee has validated that. The NYC has put that in place. You can't get in. You and I can attempt it. We can leave tomorrow morning, or not just even let them know when we are coming. Let's attempt to enter the camp here. Whoever we may be, let's attempt to enter the camp and see if we can enter without a test. That is a system that they have put in place. People could come from their homes infected. You understand? But you are going to put to a test and then isolated. It will be irresponsible for NYC authorities, the management, to allow people to simply come in. No, they put measures in place, not just to ensure that students are safe. Do you know that in Niger, for example, about 10 local governments, they refuse to deploy people to 10 local governments. That's the same thing that they've done in Kaduna. If you see the number of people on orientation in Kaduna, extremely low, because this year has been a year like no other in terms of security breaches in Kaduna. So they've carefully taken just very few. And the governor, because the NYC camp in Kaduna is located on the way to Abuja, everyone knows that place is not safe. The governor had to give them a place. Nigerians don't know this. The governor had to give the NYC a place before the NYC decided that, okay, we will not shut the Kaduna camp. That's the extent that they've gone to be able to say, okay, the lives of these people are safe. And it's the same attitude towards, when I'm reading some of those things, it's not the truth. That, NYC camp, no.
That's the impression that is out there now.
No, but even the public relations officer, NYC denied that report. So you wonder.
I've even seen even NTA. I saw the news on NTA that the thing is not true.
Yeah.
I don't know where these stories come from. Oh, the NYC
I think it was the information minister who made those claims.
Maybe some people told him what was not true, and he was misled. Yeah. We've been in this same country, where a CBN governor claimed that the National Assembly spends 1/4 of Nigeria's budget every year. He was misled by his staff. That's the former Emir of Kano. But when the Senate challenged that, look, what are you talking about? This is the budget. This is what is allocated to us. The Senate committee chair at that time on finance was led by McCarthy. He had to apologize. He even wrote to them to apologize that, no, I lied against you people. That's the former Emir saying, I lied. I apologize. And when he apologized, because he apologized in secret, they released his apology letter to Punch.
But you know, we have also had
Punch now ran that story.
Even in the presidency,
Okay,
we have had these cases.
Aruna from Abuja.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for staying with us.
Nice. Haruna Mohammed is my name. I'm calling from Abuja.
All right, go ahead, Aruna.
Okay, please, I just want to contribute on this doctor strike. First, I want to say thank you for enlightening us.
Thanks.
But it's because this state, they have been mentioning Abia 19 months, Imo some months, Ekiti is it 4 or whatever. But what I want to ask is that why is the heat on this doctor strike more on the federal? We are not hearing it from the state, whereby maybe they were pushing for strike. And Mr. Abajide made mention of something. He was surprised not to see Benue State. Which I'm happy not to see Benue. Granted, they are talking about a non-payment of salary. Is Benue State, but another state also that is even more on the light.
They don't know.
Benue State is Kogi State.
They don't know.
Kogi State.
Thank you, Aruna Mohammed, for your contribution. So it's like, like I asked earlier, the spotlight is always on the federal government.
The truth is, you see, the thing is not. This is just an item out of the demands. Other items concern the federal government. Other items, consequential, what's it called? Consequential adjustment, arrears of a training fund, the issue of hazard allowance. All of those ones concern the federal. It's just the issue of salary, non-payment of salary that concerns the states. Other issues concern the federal government. So it's not a wrong thing. Was it not the federal government that negotiated with them and entered into a memorandum of action with them and refused to implement
them?
You said you are going to pay them 33% of basic salary. It was the federal government. And another thing, by labor convention, it is the federal that represent all the tiers of government. That's why even the negotiation for minimum wage, it was the president who nominated Eyoita and the rest of them to negotiate on behalf of the other. It's only federal that is recognized, and then what was it called? The private sector is also recognized. But these other tiers of government, they are not recognized in labor. This thing.
And the way we are going, ultimately, if care is not taken, because we're told, okay, on the 16th of August now, is it tomorrow?
16th will be Monday, I think. I'm not. Today is 12th, 16th.
Monday. So from next week, Monday, is expected that Nigeria should come out. We have a new set of vaccines, which will be out. If you can access it on time, that people should start taking it. Because the way we are going, a lot of people regret not taking that AstraZeneca.
Well, it's a good thing that the news out there is encouraging. Just today, it was reported that we had received 170,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson came in today. We have over 4 million of the Moderna vaccine.
Okay, apart from the Moderna vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson
came in today. It came in today. Either 170 or 176,000. That's encouraging, and we understand it's just going to be a single dose. It's also said that government is going to be paying attention to those who don't have, who are a bit more vulnerable, so that they can take the one-off vaccination, so they don't have to do long trips and all that. That I understand is part of the plan.
You don't have to come back after 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Just one dose. So it's encouraging for those of us and the rest of Nigerians who have not had the opportunity to take the vaccine, it's an opportunity, to go take the vaccine and ensure that they are protected. COVID-19 is real. Let no one deceive the other.
My greatest fear still has to do with how we are handling things. More and more people are coming into our country, evading quarantine, evading all of the measures that we have put in place. And everyone knows that it is through air travel that this thing spread across the world. So shouldn't we have an airtight system that ensures that these people can't get away? The governor of Lagos was complaining about people who refused, who even gave false addresses and phone numbers so that you won't be able to reach them.
Can you do that?
They are getting away with it. Now, of all the governors, it is the governor of Ekiti State who has come out to say, okay, gentlemen, it's now 50 persons per public event, and you must do physical distancing of 6 feet to the next person to you. So we need to go back to that. I know it's painful, event centers couldn't make money, this and that, but I'm alarmed at the rate at which this thing is rising. If we can suddenly get to 700 and 790 within just a few weeks, who knows what they'll be posting tomorrow? So we have to be more serious in checking this thing.
And finally on the show, the multiplier effects of rising costs of goods and services in Nigeria is cutting deep across sectors. Between May and July 2021, the price of domestic cooking gas has jumped by nearly 6%. For instance, the cost of the 12.5 kilogram cylinder increased from between 3,600 and 3,800 in March to between 4,200 and 5,000 naira. TVC News correspondent Ayodeji Murayedeyo has more on the report.
The price of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, also known as cooking gas, has skyrocketed to 450 and 500 naira per kilogram. This price range is the highest Nigerians will pay for cooking gas, which is now being used in different homes in the country. It is now also common for those running canteen business to use cooking gas because it is faster in making food for customers. The price of cooking gas has risen by more than 60% since December 2020, following the devaluation of the naira and persistent inadequate domestic supply.
All of this.
Rotimi Ogunleye, a business expert, blames the high cost of the product on poor exchange rates and other factors.
The prices are determined by the interaction of demand and supply at the international market. When the price of this when the price goes up, of course, it will affect on the dollars. And when dollar goes up, the cost of purchase, the landing cost, will increase in proportion with the volume of cash as it comes from outside the economy.
Gas plants now refill a 12.5 kilogram cylinder for 5,200 naira compared to 4,400 naira in June. This development is giving many housewives serious concern as they continue to lament the rising cost of refilling cooking gas in the face of the soaring food prices.
Money to feed
this woman is not happy with the high price of cooking gas.
Let the price of the gas come to the normal one before. Because before with 1,000 naira you can fill 3 kg and you still have a 100 naira change to collect.
She's not the only woman who has found herself in this situation. Others also expressed their views.
It's really affecting our business, it's like seriously. Even before, we have a lot of customers. This place, everybody be coming in, going out, motor, coming in, going out every time.
Oh yes, of course, it's what they buy, they will sell. But at least they should put into the consideration of the people, and they should look well into the financial budget of the other people too, because most of us are not financially buoyant, so they should try and help us reduce the cost.
Now that the cost is too expensive, we are feeling like 1 kg, 2 kg, and it won't last long. It's normally finished like 1 week. If we cook like 1 week, it will have finished.
The way the price of the gas is rising these days is something else. At least not all fingers are not equal. At least they suppose reduce the price small. This one every blessed day the price will be high instead of to be coming down.
As you can see, it's affecting. Just I came to fill 12 kg now. I couldn't afford the price. I'm going to 6,000 to fill a 12.5 kg.
Many restaurant operators are also complaining. Benson Ogunmoyela runs a canteen and he is disturbed about the development.
Per 12.5 kg is sold for about 4,700 naira presently. In a week, we burn almost, we have about 50 kg. That is about 8 bottles. We use about 11 bottles in a week, which translates to about 42,000 naira per week, which is on the high side actually, And getting even firewood nowadays is not even easy.
As the cost of cooking gas continues to rise, coupled with the high cost of foodstuffs, Nigerians are calling for urgent government intervention. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News.
Jude, last, we'll go and look for our firewoods and kerosene.
But we'll be hurting the environment.
Because I don't know.
It will be against global.
I don't understand.
If we say we don't want global warming, we want to contribute to rolling back global warming.
We even use firewood.
And we want to be using firewood. Or what is this one called? Sawdust. No, there was a time we retired to sawdust.
Charcoal.
They now call it abacha stove. Which was common in the 70s. So. But when Nigerians were facing adversity, they went back to it and named it abacha stove. Our people are going through a lot. We have to make this point. And just like tomatoes, where you buy it also determines how much you pay. This 12.5 kg, my wife bought it for 5,000 yesterday. His own wife bought it for 6,000.
6,000.
Ejibo.
Yeah.
So the place where you bought it also matters. So you cannot imagine in the hinterland, it will undoubtedly it will cost more in the hinterland. Look at that man that was interviewed, the restaurateur, spending 42,000 a month on filling gas cylinders. How much profit is he going to make? How much profit is he going to make at the end of the day? 42,000 is a lot. That's just on one item.
Yes, you're not talking about the components in which you make the food. You buy meat, you buy this, you buy gari, you buy rice.
There's a lot. People are really struggling in our country just to survive. Government has to do its best to at least cushion the effect of these pains on our people.
And this is like so essential. You can't do without it.
Yes, Ayo, but there are some hard facts we will have to contend with. Reports I've read says the national demand for cooking gas is about 1.2 million metric tons. Okay, but LNG is able to put just about 350,000 metric tons into supply. So you find that there's a shortage that has to be filled with imports. These imports will have to come in with forex, through forex payments and all that. And so,
what were the sixth largest?
Not just sixth largest in Africa, we're the largest gas producer, and that's the irony of it all. We can't seem to meet our local demand. But beyond sentiments, the report out there also says that LNG is also aiming to make money, forex by exporting. You know that these are contracts already signed. So you just don't want to do, because there's a shortage, then you deny international contract that you have entered into to supply the local market.
So that gap is there, a huge shortfall
1.2 million metric tons to just 350,000. And then you also have other charges that are being demanded of marketers.
Yes.
DPR, PPR area, and the rest of them. They have to pay, and this cost will have to be transferred to the ordinary Nigerian. And that's why there is a huge demand, by Nigerians, that government has to find a way to deal with it. We have to fill that gap somehow. The vicious circle that we're experiencing is that LNG wants to make money, by earning dollars and the rest of it. And then Nigeria would now have to import, cooking gas using forex.
As a young man, I would listen to successive president and administration. They will tell us that we have to make sacrifices. Nigerians should learn to make sacrifices. I've been listening to that in the last 20, 30 years. How long are we going to endure this kind of sacrifice?
I just wish we can we can get to that point when the government can give back to us as much as governments are giving back to people who pay their taxes regularly. In countries like Norway, Canada, those places that our people are running to, because it's so tough on the people. People have to pay salaries. People have to pay school fees. They have to pay their water bills. They have to pay electricity bills. And when electricity is not forthcoming, people have to buy petrol, put in their generators. Some people have 2 generators, so that if this one doesn't work today, and so people to spend money on inverters. So it's a tough thing. Nigeria is a tough place to live in, and it's getting tougher. Now, by the time they roll out all those toll gates, transport costs will go up too. Even you that you are not a commercial transporter or driver, you still have to spend more. So this is the thing. At the end of the day, everything is going up. Can you imagine beans going up by 250%?
From 28,000 to 62,000.
So it's now around 72, 73. 72, 73 for a bag of beans. What do we do?
Survive it. So.
we pray we survive. And on the issue of cooking gas, our government has declared, 2021 to 2030 as the gas decade, and we're in this mess that we have found ourselves. They just have to find a way to deal with it, because there's so much suffering in the land.
Babajide, in my religion, we will say it is well.
Even when we know it's not well, we will still say it is well. We are very optimistic people, but we have to do things that will make it well. We have to choose the right leaders. We have to put our leaders on their toes. We have to challenge our leaders to give their best to the people.
Okay. Sam Beme, thank you for your contribution. Thank you. BKO, we hope for a better Nigeria.
Yes, we don't have any choice, because we are not prepared to leave this country. I'm not going to Canada. We'll stay here.
And salvage together.
And that's our outfit today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. Don't forget to join us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday, 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. You're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubako. See you tomorrow, and God bless Nigeria.